Hi, I'm Whack.
Hey, and I'm Pat, and thanks for joining us for another edition of the Weekly Orbit, the week ending Friday, March 15th. Happy Dencun.
Yeah, happy Dencun Day. Well, yesterday, but
Well,
yeah,
yesterday, yeah. Yeah, cool.
it's it's been
Oh,
really
go ahead.
cool. Like, yeah, Dencun was beyond everyone's wildest expectations. I think it's just been such a great 24 hours basically since it launched. And
Yeah.
first of all, the hard fork was super smooth, and then after that, like once you started seeing the fees, it was like kind of mind blowing. So it was really cool.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. I had an
Absolutely.
exciting week. I saw myself on the big screen. I went to the movies, and I'm like, hey, there I am. And Cabrini came out. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was filmed in my city where I live, and it's supposed to take place in New York City, but it's
Yeah.
obviously not New York City. About around 1900, and
Yeah.
I was in several scenes. A couple of them are. If you're not looking for me, you won't see me because I'm background. But then there's a scene or two in particular where I said, "Oh my gosh, there I am! You can clearly see my face. There I am, standing walking with Cabrini." And
That's
so
so cool.
that was pretty cool, seeing myself on the big screen. But
So this was like a big budget movie, right? Like
yeah,
how much would it
40
cost to
million.
make? Yeah, that's a decent budget movie. So will
Yeah.
we be able to watch it in like our local multiplex? Like, what's the situation?
Yeah, I saw it at AMC theaters. It's
Nice.
it just came out
Nationwide
last,
release.
so Friday, March 8th, I think it was when it came out.
Awesome. Yeah,
Um,
congratulations.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I'll go see it another time. You know, I got lots of friends. They're like, hey, let's go see it, and I was like, oh, I'll take autographs afterwards.
Yeah. How's the movie
But
itself?
it's good. It's a feel good
Yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Christina Delana, she plays Cabrini. I thought she was excellent. And it's hard to know when you're on set and you're filming, everything is chopped because you're doing this scene and then you do this scene and you do 13 takes of each one, and you're kind of trying to put it all together. But until they do all the edits and they make it into the movie, you really don't know what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
But she was excellent. John Lithgow was great. He was the mayor of New York. David Morse, he's the Archbishop of New York. He was excellent too. So I thought the acting was great, and yeah, I thought it was good.
Congratulations on your silver screen debut.
Well,
That's
not
really
that
cool.
big of a deal. Not that.
Yeah,
But,
it's still cool.
Yeah, it was fun. You know what else was fun was
Tell me.
this week. If we get into what we get together each week to talk about is some crypto.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at prices. Right now, ETH is at $3,873, and that is a little up from last week. When we talked, it was 3,817 or so. So we're up a little bit on the week. Yeah, about 2.5%. And then if we take a look at RPL, RPL is at currently US dollars $35.64, which is a little higher than last week as well.
Yep.
1.9% up on the week. But more importantly, let's take a look at the ETH RPL ratio. Last week we were at 0.0091, and right now we are at 0.00914. So up a touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? Overall, like the week, I felt like you start seeing that RPL price inching up organically over the last couple of weeks. It's
Yeah.
kind of felt good. You know that it seemed like perhaps we hit kind of a low there in the ETH ratio at least.
Yeah.
But we're kind of inching up. So yeah, overall, what's your take?
Yeah, so this was a really good week for ETH. Like ETH hit, pretty much went up to 4,100. Bitcoin, of course, hit new all-time highs at 73,600. So Bitcoin's been performing really strongly. But ETH, of course, has kind of kept up with it, which is really great to see. However, today it kind of took a bit of a dive, and that's fine. And kind of RPL followed it a little bit as well. But what RPL was doing before, in the last 12 hours or so, was actually holding up with ETH and kind of outperforming it. So on Friday last week, we had a big dip, and that's when we had Ramana's buy party. So a whole bunch of people were kind of like buying over that weekend. And I actually bought on Friday last week at 0.0085 or 86.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite the bottom, but it was like pretty nice. And then since then, it had a good few days, and I was hoping that it would reach 0.01 last night, because people would be buying to top up before the rewards. But sadly, with the crypto market kind of moving downwards, it didn't hold that. But I'm hoping that in the next few days we can carry on that trajectory, because it is looking like it's been slowly inching upwards. You never know with crypto, right? Like, if anything happens in the broader market, like, we can dump just as fast as we've gone up. So there's no guarantees that this is the bottom or anything like that. However, I really keep thinking back to the week before ETH Denver, the week before that, when Val put out his cohesive vision, maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, I feel like the sentiment has improved so much since that moment. That was I think 12 hours before that was the bottom of the sentiment, and hopefully the community is kind of rallying around those ideas, and we've had a whole bunch of really positive things come out in that period. So I'm hoping that this might be the bottom, but you never know.
Right. Now that we have Dencun behind us, I think the next thing on our roadmap is Houston, which could come up May 6th. So we're going to be talking about the audits finishing up on that, and then it going to testnet. A lot of community members, they'll be loving to try it out on probably on Holsky, I assume, testnet. And we've got a lot of folks who are chomping at the bit to test it out and try to break it. And then we'll be talking about all the benefits that Houston will be providing, further decentralization, the marriages, that we talked about, like with institutions and some whales getting together, making that a lot easier. So I think now that Dencun is behind us, we can start, focusing on Houston as the weeks progress here.
Yeah, and then that's our job, right? To make sure that we educate the wider community about all the benefits that come with Houston, and making Rocket Pool the most decentralized staking LST. It already is, but making it even better, I think is really cool. But then there's also I think you kind of need a little bit of hype to go with it, and the hype will come from the fact that these little tidbits that we've gotten about there being potential institutional whale marriages potentially. We don't know, of course, what's going to happen with that, but that can be quite nice.
Right, and plus it lays the groundwork for NodeSet. Makes it their constellation work well as almost like a layer 2 built on top of Rocket Pool. So, we got a lot coming up this spring. Fall if you're in the southern hemisphere, but spring if you're in the northern one.
Yeah, it's going to be really good.
The other thing that happened, you were talking about the rewards period just ended, and the let's check in on the smoothing pool. So it topped off at about 322 ETH, right as the rewards were paid out. In comparison, the prior rewards period, 367 ETH. We're down a little bit at 322. So explain to us, Wack, we get a little more in the smoothing pool when there's volatility in the markets, not necessarily because gas is higher, because gas is definitely high. But, in comparison to last month, we're down a little bit. So can you explain to listeners what happened?
Yeah, so these months are definitely within the average kind of just normal months ticking by for the smoothing pool. My benchmark is kind of 10 ETH per day, and we're just doing a little bit more than that, so it's just around average. The volatility, you're absolutely right. Volatility is where it comes from, because when there's volatility, people are paying the extra tips for the blocks because they want to get first, because they want to get their transaction through first. With volatility also comes opportunities for MEV. So there's arbitrage opportunities, there's sandwiching opportunities, front running, back running, whatever kind of MEV you can think of that's happening on mainnet. That just happens more of it when there's volatility. So the gas prices, people think, gas prices will go up and then we will get bigger blocks. That's not necessarily the case. Like you said, it's all about the volatility. I think that makes up a huge percentage of it. So it was another average month, but hey, if it's an average month, at least you get some rewards, right? I think now with there being nearly 1 million validators on mainnet, you won't get a proposal for 5 or 6 months. So it's much better than that. You're in the smoothing pool every month, you're getting some rewards coming through. And I think analysis after analysis has shown that the smoothing pool for small operators outperforms just the vanilla proposals and gathering rewards that way. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, in the Daily GUI Discord, Anthony Sassano's Discord, folks, I've seen people say, I haven't got a proposal in 10 months or 11 or 12 months. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, the smoothing pool, you're guaranteed to get something every month, which is
Absolutely.
which is cool, especially for a small fish. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not you. Maybe you're a bigger fish in the pond.
No, I'm not. I only have 4 validators. Like, I'm not a big fish. No,
Not yet.
no. Maybe one day.
Yeah. So yesterday, a new vote, RPIP, Rocket Pool Improvement Proposal 40 dropped. It's from the Grants and Management Committee. You're on the Grants and Management Committee, so why don't you explain what is this RPIP about?
Yeah, so there's a few different things that are going into this RPIP. The main one is about the conflict of interest in voting. So we have 9 GMC members. Now, you have to remember that the GMC is a volunteer position, right? So what kind of people will volunteer for the GMC? It's the kind of people who love Rocket Pool and want to work for Rocket Pool. But these people are also people then who are doing other work for Rocket Pool. Like, I make rocket fuel, I make weekly orbit. Like, other people, they do Twitter spaces, like Ken. They have merchandise stores like Dr. Doofus. Like, there are people who have other things that are going on with Rocket Pool. Now, what happens is whenever your grant is up, you can't help in that month of grants. Like, you're kind of ostracized out of it, and that is just hugely limiting, because last month we had, I think, 4 out of the 9 members couldn't be involved in any discussions for the grants. So it was just kind of a, pardon my language, but a shitty situation. And we've kind of been mentioning this before as well, that we should change this. And once we mentioned it before, it didn't go anywhere. But this time, I think, the vote looks like it's going to pass. But there's a couple of other things here as well. Like, there's going to be some clarity on bounties and how that's all working out. And then we're kind of making the schedule a little bit more regular. So that's going to be a little bit easier for the GMC members. So what will happen is, currently we have a 5 to 6 week window for the grant applications to be open. So that's going to be brought down to a 4-week window. And then that extra week will be given to the GMC to kind of deliberate and get all their work done. So it's just gonna make it a lot smoother. For the applicant side, it'll be the same, because you can pretty much submit a grant any day of the year, and it might just take a week longer to get approved than it did before if you submit it day 1 of the grant cycle opening. So that I think is a huge improvement for the GMC members as well. And then there's just some admin stuff. So overall, if you scroll down, I voted in favor of this, and I said, this is if you read my little comment that goes with it, it'll say on the left where it says 4, and then there's a little speech bubble. Yeah, it says the GMC really needs to be even better. So I think that this is a huge improvement. There might be that we get some criticisms for this, especially the voting thing, but I think it's not. I think it's something that will be better rather than worse. And if there's a situation where the conflicts of interest become a thing, then hopefully the community can kind of limit the GMC again. But this was definitely something that we need, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now the other open vote is we talked about last week was the Eigenlayer bounty, and let's check in to see how that is going. That it ends in about 5 days.
Yeah.
So, and we are over the quorum, and I think most of the major delegated voting has taken place. Like, you got Valdorf, Joe, yourself, Ken, Romana. So it looks like all the big players have put their votes in on the
projection boundary.
So there's two votes. The first is, should we reject the Eigenlayer bounty? Right now we're at 4 at about 13% and against at 81. So it looks like that's probably going to fail. So that's the right language. It's going to.
That's right.
Because it was challenging the GMC's decision.
The challenge will fail. Yes.
The challenge will fail. No?
The GMC's decision will win out on that. Now the next one is really interesting.
Yeah. So this one is to reduce the scope of the Eigenlayer bounty. Now this one's pretty a lot closer. 41% for and 52% against.
Yeah.
And so that it's right now on pace to fail as well. Correct?
Right.
Am I
Yes,
reading
it's
that right?
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on pace to fail. However, we just need one swing from probably, like, for example, I could change this myself, right? Like, so if I change my vote from being against to being for, then that would basically switch it. My reasoning here is not very good.
I vote against this.
Yeah, but like if you look at Joe's and Val's, they added a little bit more commentary there.
So Joe says we should fund research first, then fund development later, predicated on what comes out of it. And then Valdorf says, I think EigenLayer is a large threat to Ethereum. That's
Val's post. Yeah. So the thing with Joe's position is basically we're going to have a vote after the research phase anyway. That was part of the GMC's acceptance criteria. So what would happen is my argument for this is that if we voted for this, then we're just adding another 3 week to 1 month delay in moving forward, which we don't need because it'll still happen in the way that people who are voting for want to happen. There will still be a vote that takes place to see whether we as a community want to progress from the research phase to the work phase, right? Like actually doing the work. So I think in that situation there is a little bit of a maybe just a different way people understand it or a different way they want to like adopt that. But this is going to be a tight vote, and like I said, it just takes one person, like maybe me or Thomas or 1KX after that, who have got these big blocks of voting to switch, or it might just take Marco Barco coming online and voting for this to swing it the other way. So this one's still kind of like too close to call, but the other one, it looks like the community is kind of overwhelmingly in favor of there being some kind of EigenLayer integration. Research about that. Yeah,
correct. Yep. So we'll be filing this by next week's show. We should have a final determination because it ends in 5 days. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Just before we move on, one of the things I want to say that's really great is like this is a really divided vote. In fact, it's one of the most divided votes we've ever had. However, the sentiment in the community has been amazing. Like there's not been any fighting or anything like that. I guess it's not too consequential at this point in time because there's nothing kind of like riding on it. Like it still seems far away, but previous votes that we've had that have been kind of in terms of the voting numbers being this contentious, like that spilled over into the community as well, where there's been a lot of fighting and arguing. That's not happened this time, which is kind of cool to see. Yeah,
I think it's been a very, very courteous discussion and debate, which is great. All right, on to the next thing. So we talked about Dencun. A little shout out here. All Nodes had a tweet as a testament to our dedication. History has been made. All Nodes hosted Rocket Pool Mini Pool proposed the first ever blob on Ethereum, leading to a new era of efficient and cost-effective data handling on the network. So I have a good friend of mine. He has All Nodes, and I immediately sent him a message. Hey, was this you? You check it because wouldn't that be cool? You were that's historic. So hey, it's pretty cool. Rocket Pool making a little news as the first blob on the new fee market.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So more on this. So we had Eric. He tweeted, tested 7 different transaction types across the 3-layer 2s. Most were at or below a penny. We'll continue tomorrow once Arbitrum and others activate blobs. Our friend Jasper, he also says, I just deposited ETH on Base into the balancer, our ETH pool, and staked it in our Aurora Finance for 13% APR. How much did it cost me for all these transactions? 0.0014 cents.
A tenth of a penny.
Is now. That's amazing. Any thoughts on the new fee market here?
Absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah, so right away we started getting screenshots coming through from Starknet and ZK Sync because they were the protocols that had it active right away. The Optimism superchain needed a few hours. Like I think they had it at 6 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern, something like that. So it took 10 to 12 hours for people to start playing around with it on Optimism. Arbitrum's going live today, but once the Optimism numbers started, well, even the Starknet numbers were quite impressive, right? So a transaction that a few days ago was going to cost $6 was costing 3 or 4 cents, which is amazing. Like that is like 99% reduction in the gas costs, which is fantastic. However, once the the Optimism numbers started coming through, that's when people's minds were blown. And I think the Ethereum branch of crypto Twitter was just having the time of their lives yesterday. Like so many people were sharing these great screenshots of their transactions and showing just how amazingly cheap the transactions had gotten. So the kind of thing that was costing $1 or $2 just a few days ago was literally costing a tenth of a penny. Like Jasper here got 3, and these are fairly gas intensive transactions. It's not like a simple send or even a swap. This is like depositing into liquidity pools and staking those liquidity tokens, etc. Like that is a lot, and to get those 3 transactions through for under basically a tenth of a penny is just amazing. Now there is a caveat here, of course, is that this fee market's not mature yet. There's still other players who are going to come online, so the competition for these fees will grow. However, yesterday Ethereum was cheaper than Solana. Ethereum was the cheapest blockchain, which when you understand it that way, that is amazing, right? And I think that we as a community can add caveats and try to explain it and help people understand just how it's going to work. But for that moment, we can enjoy that. You know what I mean? The devs worked really hard to get us to this place. Literally hundreds of people were working together to make this happen. So this was a huge moment of celebration for them, huge support that we should give them, and gratefulness we should show them. So I think in the next coming days, maybe in 2 weeks time, we'll get a good idea of where we stand with the fees on these layer 2s. But it's looking really good. I can expect there to be consistent amount of transactions taking place in pennies basically, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think so. They started off conservatively. I think up to 6 blobs per block, if I got that right.
Yeah,
up to 6. But it's an easy tweak. They then expand it to 12 or just keep going as demand, because demand's going to fill those blobs up quick. And they can just keep incrementally increasing it as they go along. But this is the first release. They want to kind of go conservative, just see how it works, and as a network looks steady, that they'll increase it in the future.
So just like with mainnet, where the target gas is 15 million, and then in periods of high use, it can expand up to 30 million. That's the same situation with blobs as well. So the target blobs per block is 6 blobs per block. But then there are points where if there's high enough demand for the blob space, then that will go up to 12 as well. So it gives that runway a little bit of a push to help get more blobs online. But this is fantastic. Like you said, there's really great growth factors coming, and I'm really excited to see Ethereum, what it's going to look like in 2 years' time. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and 2 things I thought of was, one, is this a pivotal moment where alternate all L1s, is this the beginning of the end for a lot of them? Because a lot of them, the whole point was, hey, we got really cheap fees. Well, now Ethereum network does too, but Ethereum also has the network effects, the amount of users, and the security. So I'm just wondering that. And the second thing I thought of was, hey, wouldn't it be nice to be able to transact our rocket pool transactions on layer 2s, claiming rewards instead of layer 1. I know that I remember there was talk of that a year or 2 ago, and that is technically possible, but something that would have to be worked out.
Yeah. So for the first point, if you are an EVM chain, if you are an Ethereum, a fork of Ethereum, basically, so Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Phantom, there's a whole bunch of them that are basically EVM equivalent, Ethereum equivalent. For those, I don't see how they can survive this now, because by staying on the layer 2 roll up for Ethereum, you're getting all the benefits of Ethereum, huge amounts of benefits, but none of the like, you don't have to bridge across chains to get to those places. Like, you can have Ethereum on Ethereum, and those are all Ethereum, right? Like, Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, Starknet, like, etc., and the others that are coming online. That's fantastic. Like, that, as I think, as people start to realize what's happening, that is going to be huge. When it comes to things like Solana, however, like, and maybe Cardano or whatever there is, they have different ways of doing things, and some people like those. So, those are monolithic chains. They want there to be certain kinds of like execution or fee environments, and maybe, the amount of share that we'd eat from them. I don't know how that's going to play out. However, all we need is a couple of meme coins coming online on Arbitrum and Optimism, and you will see users flock to them, right? And that's going to be interesting to see as well.
Eclipse is coming, which
Solana
is a Solana virtual machine
on Ethereum, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a Validium as well. So they're going to be posting the data to Celestia. So it's not quite the same. Like, you don't get the same security guarantees and assurances that you do with like true rollups, but like you said, like, there are systems in the work now to eat these other protocols and like kind of eat their lunch. And I don't know how successful it will be, but hey, we're giving ourselves the best chance right now. So it's really exciting. About your rocket pool on layer 2's thing, there are some technical issues, like, staking is something that happens on layer 1. So that I think will always be the case, that, you have to stake on layer 1. However, there might be ways to, like, every month, like, move the inflation to a layer 2 and get like people to come to claim them on layer 2. Like, the amount of gas needed for that would be less, but then there'd be trust assumptions involved in that. So if there's a way to do it trustlessly and, like, cleanly, I'm sure the people will think about it and try to implement it.
Sure. Okay, on to our last news item. So just to give where we at on tokenomics, we started about back in November, I believe it was if we think day
CSM.
zero, it was I was thinking of your your rant as day zero. It was fiery. I think there was a couple curse words dropped in there.
More than a couple. Very strong language. Yeah.
Right.
It was.
So that was day zero, and then I would say we then had a discussion that was extensive in the trading channel, and then it resulted in a bounty being written up in December, and then awarded the bounty late in January, and then we've got maybe a couple dozen submissions that were then put into more of a cohesive proposal in, say, February, which has then been refined. We got a new channel. It's called Tokenomics RPIPs. This is before the forum, the formal forum part. And so if you want to know about what's going on with tokenomics, I suggest you follow this thread, because you got Samus, you got Valdorf, you got a lot of other community members really getting into the kind of ironing out some of these details. So any thoughts so far on the progress we're making?
Absolutely. So the first thing that needs to be said is that moment of me that rant in November might have seemed like the day zero, but these are conversations that have been taking place for multiple years in the community. Like, Noshua, of course, has been saying some of these things for over 2 years. There's other members of the community who've been like kind of making a similar kind of comments for multiple months, if not years, as well. So I can't take too much. I can't take credit for that. Like, those people were definitely like the vanguards of those ideas. It's just there was maybe like a little spark or something that I might have ignited, but I think my role in that was really small. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I'm kind of disappointed that we haven't had more cohesive visions coming through. There have been people who've kind of like insinuated that they were going to write something or present some information, but it hasn't materialized. I was really hoping that, post Denver, we would have at least two, maybe three competing ideas that the community could like really wrestle with and like really grapple with and like try to figure out which one worked the best and didn't work the best. Sadly, we don't have that. All we have is Val and Samus's cohesive vision that they've kind of like merged into one, and they've been kind of working together on theirs. Now, that is wonderful, right? Like, it's really caught the attention of the wider community, even like, on the Daily Way and like other communities, like ETH communities, like people have like kind of grappled with these ideas and really tried to understand them, which is amazing. However, I wish we had more. Now, all of that being said, this thread is now kind of moving things to the next level, by kind of like you said, ironing things out and trying to get them ready for going onto mainnet, and sorry, not mainnet, onto the forums and into like formal governance. Now, there are a couple of really interesting things that have come up, and like one of the things that you've got highlighted on the screen here is Samus kind of like crunching some numbers to see how like floor valuations would work for RPL using the old tokenomics system, new tokenomics system as they stand now, but also about using them like at maturity, like what would they look like if we had a higher like market share of stake, and kind of like trying to figure those out. Now, the first thing that needs to be said here as well is that this is all just there's a lot of assumptions here, there's a lot of like maybe holes in thinking, like this is just people trying to figure out ideas, so we can't really read too much into this, I think, at this moment in time, until like we give them time to like iron out all their work. But some of the numbers that we're getting actually look pretty decent, like, and yeah, this is the spreadsheet that Samus put out, kind of like trying to work out what the tokenomics might look like, what flow ratios might look like for RPL in different situations, and kind of like trying to figure it out. So it's really cool that he's done this, but I think it's something that we should right now kind of approach with caution, and not necessarily like start screaming from the rooftops about how amazing this is going to be for RPL. Like, it's just like what we should be saying is like there's some really interesting ideas that are being shared, so please get involved and like engage with those ideas. And if you want to add to them or challenge them, then that would be awesome. Please do that. But otherwise, like just understand that there's these really cool conversations taking place, and it looks like this is what is going to be presented more formally to the community like very soon. If anyone is watching who has hesitations about this plan, like now is the time, like to say your piece, or like what do they say during weddings, like speak now, forever hold your peace. Like that's the situation we're reaching, right? Like I don't want people like bitching and moaning in like 3 or 4 months time when we voted on this and people are starting to actually do the work, and it's like, oh no, I don't like this, like this is garbage, this is blah blah blah, this is bad for RPL, bad for Rocket Pool, like it should have been this way or that way. It's like, guys, like we've been saying this for months now, right? Like present your ideas, people want to engage with it right now. And you make your case, right? Like if you think your ideas are superior, now is the time to forge them in fire, like present them to the community, let people poke holes, let them get developed. And I'm sure that if they are superior ideas, then the community as a whole will kind of like rally around them. I expect that. I really hope so, right? But if it's a situation where the community only has this one option, and we're kind of working towards it for the next 2, 3, 4 months, getting it through the formal processes on the forum, voting for it, getting it onto the roadmap, and then you come up and you start talking all this shit, like it shouldn't be like this is garbage, this is bad, this is like whatever, then that's just FUD, right? And like frankly, I have no time for you at that point, and I will call you out for it at that point. But right now, please bring your ideas, because we desperately need more. If you have them, I think everyone will engage with them in good faith, but your time is running out. Like this should have happened a month ago. The idea was that we would have been in Denver kind of talking through different ideas. Instead, we just had one idea that we were talking through in Denver. So that was already limiting. Now, let's not make it worse. Let's try to fix it if we can, or get behind and like support the ideas that are there, and like let's present this as a unified community behind this set of ideas, because otherwise we'll just get FUD, and then that will make me very angry, and then I might be saying mean words to you in that situation.
We had one curse-filled rant. We don't need any more from
no. But
yeah,
these guys.
So,
I'll be really upset. Yeah, I will be really upset if that happens. Yeah,
Samus and if you read through this the thread, both Samus and Valdorf has said we're still working on our modeling, and we're not totally comfortable yet. But here are some preliminary numbers. So there's still work to do. But I just want to give our listeners kind of an update where we're at. And as you said, if you're interested, you want to read, you should read through this, and you have any questions or comments, this is the place to do it. It's you'll find it under the governance channel, Tokenomics RPIPs. So keep an eye on that. All right. Hey, do you have a win for this week?
Yeah, the Dencun upgrade. Like, I've been in Ethereum for quite a while, and this was the smoothest upgrade I've ever seen, like, since it
Yeah.
happened. And I was watching the live stream of it, and literally the first two epochs, every block was hit. There wasn't a single missed block. The participation rate on the network went down by about 5-6%, and that was just because of people who hadn't changed their validators in time, like they hadn't updated their nodes in time to the latest, like, fork software. But other than that, it was flawless, like absolutely flawless, which was a huge testament to the devs. And then on top of that, the feast stuff that came through last night was just like amazing. Like, it was so great to see that.
Yeah, and I think Tim Byko, one of the core devs, he tweeted or he wrote somewhere that this was the most complex fork since the merge, and it was tied with the most EIPs.
Yeah.
And developing this whole new fee market, it was really complex, and to see it just go through smoothly, like kind of like ho hum, no big deal. And
Yeah.
it's just incredible how hundreds of team members or people from around the world get together and through a decentralized process come and are able to get these highly complex upgrades through the system. It's incredible.
Yeah, my response to Tim Byko would be, this is only the second hard fork since the merge, because we just had the merge and then we had withdrawals and now we've got Dencun. So first of all, that's the thing. And the second thing I'd say to him as well is that, like, the withdrawals was skinny hard fork, in that the only main thing they were focusing on was getting withdrawals done. So I'll push back a little bit there, but it's nice though. It's nice to say, this is so complex and stuff, but it really was. It was really, there were a lot of EIPs in there, and everything went really smoothly. I'm really excited to see like Rocket Pool start to use the beacon state root stuff. I'm not really sure if we've seen anything about that yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing like what kind of changes that will make for Rocket Pool.
Well, wasn't that was needed for Houston, right? Was Houston built on that? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So there'll be aspects of that
week,
get used.
Yeah, my win for the week is Ramana. Okay, I met Ramana at the ETH Denver briefly. He's one of our finest community members. He's always tinkering with smart contracts and coding but I thought he's done this multiple times where he's challenged the community in a RPL buying party. And he's done this a few times. And he essentially says, hey, I'll match 20% of whatever you buy. And he'll do it over a weekend. And he did it last weekend. And we saw the price go up. And it creates a good sentiment in the community. And I just want to give a shout out if he's watching. Great job. We're glad to have you. Rocket Pool's strength is these community members who step up and do, they're in their lane and they say, hey, this is what I can do and this is what I can help. And so Ramana is my win for the week.
Yeah, the great thing about Ramana is that he, of course, is always tinkering with things, but he had his own win of this week, was meeting Vitalik yesterday. I don't know if you saw in trading, he posted a photo with him and Vitalik, so that was pretty cool. So
I meant to say that too. Like, not only is he just a great community member, but the guy he hangs out with Vitalik, and what a baller,
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Right. Just casually having his picture taken with. So anyways. That wraps up this week's show. Thanks for listening and watching and being part of the Rocket Pool community. Until next week, we'll see you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.